There comes a time in every person's journey when they are pursuing something very seriously. They soon realize that if they really need to push the limits of their creativity, they have to upgrade. Yes, folks, this is for all those podcasters out there who realize that if they are in the long run for this particular serious pursuit, then they need to get the best that's out there. So, this is dedicated to all of you serious creators. Let's focus on upping our podcasting game and going dynamic. If you're curious about what that is all about, well, then listen on. Hello there, folks, and welcome to the Creative Pod podcast. I believe that every single person is creative in their own way, and every single episode in this podcast is aimed at helping you find your creative side. So listen on and join in for the fun with the Creative Pod podcast. Alright, folks, so by now you know that we will be talking about dynamic mic and using an audio interface along with it, going by the video thumbnail, right? Well, it's pretty simple and straightforward. Once you start becoming serious about the kind of quality you're putting out, you obviously want something that not just makes the effort effortless, but also does justice to your passion, energy, and time that you're putting into the craft. Now, right at the onset, let me go ahead and say this first. Equipment is as good as the user. If you don't know what you're doing, then even the best machine, best camera, best mic, best whatever will be the worst if you have no clue about what you need it to do, if you don't know how to use it, if you don't put in effort to learn the technicalities behind it. And I'm not saying that you have to be an expert. No, you don't have to be an expert, but you have to have the will to learn. And as you learn, the experience is what will make you an expert, not learning things by rote, not rattling off technicalities. Those don't make people expert, it's experience. All right, so with that, let me introduce our stars of this show. I will be using the Focusrite 2i2 third generation audio interface, and my mic is the AKG D5 Dynamic microphone. The Focusrite is a pretty interesting, piece of hardware. Before settling on buying this, I did a lot of research. A lot of YouTubers and podcasters actually recommend this. While I was drawn to the popularity, I also felt that I should, check out a lot of reviews. It's one thing to say that, hey, I got this and I love it. And it's another thing to say that, hey, I got this and here are the different tests that I've done on this. So my choice was between the Behringer and the Focusrite. The main reason I went for the Focusrite, to be honest, is because of its really small footprint and the really good positive reviews I've heard about it. So I've been pretty happy with it. So that's my choice. Why 2i2 and why not the Solo? Well, there have been instances where I had to have at least two different inputs into my computer because the guest was only able to speak over the phone, and we all know what phone quality is like. So I felt if I want to make sure that at least my voice is crystal clear, that's something I can control. And if I could somehow route the telephone, in fact, the mobile phone, input and record it simultaneously, I think that would be a lot better and I could still tweak the sound to a large extent. So I went for the 2i2 because I can actually plug my phone in and have a call while I speak into the mic, keeping the phone close to my mouth. So at least my voice is clear and the phone input goes into the 2i2, the Scarlett, and I can start recording that as well as I speak. So that gives me a lot of flexibility to at least try and do something and improve the phone input and not make it sound terrible. So that was one of the main reasons I went for the 2i2. Now, why a dynamic mic, or why this entire setup? In fact, it's not cheap. Come on. A quick Google search will tell you it's not cheap. But then again, like I said at the onset, if you're serious about it, you really want good equipment. But before buying this, I did do a lot of research. I learned quite a bit, the basics of sound. What does it mean to have a condenser mic, a shotgun mic, a dynamic mic? And also keeping in mind the location that I'm in, my surroundings when I'm doing the recording. And I basically live in a slightly noisy place. And depending on the time of day, I could have a lot of noise from outside my house. There could be a train going by, a vehicle zooming past, or a lot of children playing out there. And where there are children, there's a lot of noise too, right? So they get excited, they scream. But you can't help it, kids are kids. But I can do something about it, and that is I can at least control the equipment that I have to ensure that all these disturbances don't sort of come in between and make my background or my quality of an inferior sound. So those were some of the reasons I went for this. A dynamic mic typically is less sensitive compared to a condenser mic, owing to its construction, that the technology used in it. And I kind of felt that that would be a really good piece of equipment I should be having. Now, the thing with dynamic mics, at least the really good ones, is that they all come with an XLR input and output. It's kind of like, think of it as a USB port, just that like a USB port is a unique sort of a port in itself. You have XLR of the similar type. I'm not saying XLR and USB are the same. I'm just saying different types of switches or ports or plugs, right? So XLR is very typical to these kind of dynamic mics. Now, the good thing about the Focusrite is that it has a port which will accept two different kinds of inputs. It's like a combo port. It will accept an XLR input. It will also accept like your 3.5-inch jack that we have in our phones. So there's a bigger version of that. It will accept that too into the same port. So it's like a combo port, which was again a very good thing, because tomorrow if I want to plug in an instrument, say a guitar or a bass, along with a microphone, I could still do that and not hunt for some sort of a converter to convert the guitar's lead into an XLR and then use. So that flexibility is there, which to me was really important. This is what the mic and the Focusrite sound together in a flat profile, meaning I am not introducing any kind of effect or kind of correction on the mic. This is just flat. I will now be silent just to help you get an idea of how much noise comes into this particular mic. You are right now listening to the mic at full gain connected to the Focusrite. This is at 100% gain, and there are no filters applied to this as of now. It is a completely flat profile. This is what the mic actually sounds with the interface at full gain. What I'm going to do in this is I will reduce it to minimum and gradually start increasing all the way to maximum. Alright, so now I'm increasing the gain. Now it is at nearly 50%. It is coming slowly and more than 50%, nearly 60%. This is 70%, 75%, 80%, and now this is at full. This is what it sounds at full, and I'll start reducing it now. I'm reducing it again gradually. It is going at 75%. Now it is coming at 60%. Now it is at 50%. Now 40. This is what the mic sounds when the signal is optimal. This is at around 70 to 80% is where I keep the gain at, and this is how I record normally. Well, folks, I hope this has been insightful to you. I did not want to make an extremely long, winding, technical heavy video because there's a ton of such videos out there anyways, but I wanted to give you a few, things which I did personally and which were important to me. I think one of the important things was that the voice should not be too loud and the background should not be too noisy. When I say too loud, what happens is sometimes your sound signal is so strong it'll start clipping in the sense it has gone way beyond the threshold of what your circuitry can handle, and it starts to sound very distorted or of a very low quality, very scratchy, and I really hate that. With an audio interface and with a dynamic mic, I think you have a lot of control that you can play around with, and the background noise rejection of a dynamic mic is just too good. I will say something about polar patterns. Again, not getting into the technicalities of it, but there are several different types of polar patterns. The AKG D5 has a super cardioid polar pattern, and it is geared towards live stage kind of settings and more focused towards vocal applications. So you can imagine that a mic designed to be used on a live stage has to be built in such a way that it rejects a lot of background noise. Just imagine a stage with a lot of screaming people right behind the mic. It has to still make sure that the singer or the orator is heard very clearly. Well, that's the kind of demand I had as far as sound rejection, and this mic was really the sweet spot. So I went for this particular setup. It might be something different for you. You need to do your research, but I wanted to share with you what worked for me, and if this helps you in any way, I would love to hear from you. Of course, this is not the most perfect video out there, and I am no expert at that. But like I said, it comes with experience. I will get better with my videos. But so far, I hope you liked it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Any links that I can share will be in the description. Lastly, one important disclaimer. This entire video has been recorded using this existing setup that I have showed here. The AKG D5 Dynamic mic connected to the Focusrite 2i2 3rd generation, and the software I have used, or the digital audio workstation, or DAW, is Pro Tools First. It came along with the Focusrite. And as my usual practice, I have applied a few filters and effects to this, which is my usual practice as part of my production workflow. All right, thank you so much for listening and checking out the video. I would love to hear what you think, and if this has helped you in any way, or if you have any questions, leave a comment down below, hit the subscribe button and press the bell icon. Thank you, and bye-bye. And with that, we come to an end, folks. Keep on listening and get creative, one episode at a time. Let me leave you guys with a little thought. You know what limits imagination? Well, it is you yourself. You just need to try a little harder, and I hope this podcast helps you explore your creativity and see what more you can do. Please go ahead and engage with us. I would love to hear from you. We are available on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, Photolog, Patreon, and IMDb. So go ahead and reach out, share your thoughts and your creativity, and let me know what more topics you would like us to cover on the Creative Pod. The Creative Pod podcast signing off.